This week on The Watchman, as a new commander-in-chief prepares to take office, we analyze what the Trump administration will mean for America's national security and the U.S.-Israel relationship.
One of the things I've already noticed since the election is that people around the country that are pro-Israel and who previously were sort of despairing about what they could accomplish, all of a sudden they're on fire.
Plus, an Israeli ambassador explains why Christian support is so vital in helping Israel survive and thrive. It's The Watchman, it's Kufi, only on TBN. And welcome to The Watchman. Well, it's been a tough 8 years for America when it comes to foreign policy and national security. Under the Obama administration, we've seen the Middle East go up in flames, from Iraq to Syria to Libya and beyond. Iran and Russia are empowered and on the march. ISIS continues to strike and threaten Western capitals. And our allies, like Israel, feel distance from the United States. Folks, we need to reverse course badly. And my hope and prayer is that a change in leadership will do exactly that. In a few short weeks, we will have a new president of the United States. Donald Trump will take office on January 20th, 2017 as Commander-in-Chief, and the early signs on his national security outlook are encouraging. He's surrounded himself with individuals who have a clear understanding of our radical Islamic enemies and who are great friends and supporters of the State of Israel. People like Vice President-elect Mike Pence, a Bible-believing Christian who knows that Israel is the solution and not the problem when it comes to the madness of the Middle East. President-elect Trump has also selected Kansas Congressman Mike Pompeo to head up the CIA. Now, Pompeo is a respected authority on intelligence who has been a fierce critic of that disastrous Iran nuclear deal that we've told you about here on the show. The same goes for General Michael Flynn, who will serve as President Trump's top national security advisor, as well as Senator Jeff Sessions, who's been chosen to serve as Attorney General. Now, these are all encouraging signs, not only for America's security, but for the U.S.-Israel relationship. Here's Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
President-elect Trump, my friend, congratulations on being elected President of the United States of America. You are a great friend of Israel. Over the years, you've expressed your support consistently, and I deeply appreciate it. I look forward to working with you to advance security, prosperity, and peace. Israel is grateful for the broad support it enjoys among the American people, and I'm confident that the two of us, working closely together, will bring the great alliance between our two countries to even greater heights.
Our team here at Christians United for Israel is well positioned to work closely with the Trump administration to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship. Kufi leaders have met with members of President-elect Trump's team, including Mike Pence, who's been a friend of Kufi for years, to discuss the importance of standing with Israel. Our team at Kufi will do everything we can to ensure that this administration is one that rewards America's friends and is tough on our enemies. So if you really want to make a difference for America and Israel, Kufi is the place to do it. We are America's largest pro-Israel organization with 3.3 million members nationwide. You see the information there on your screen. Become a member of Kufi today. Join our movement and put your faith into action for such a time as this. Well, one man who is doing exactly that is Gary Bauer, a former Republican presidential candidate and high-ranking official under President Ronald Reagan. Gary is now the Washington director of the Kufi Action Fund. The Action Fund is Kufi's legislative arm, working on Capitol Hill and in the halls of power to make a difference in D.C. I sat down with Gary recently to discuss what the Trump administration will mean for the U.S.-Israel relationship. Take a look. Well, Gary, it's been an eventful 8 years with the Obama administration for the U.S.-Israel relationship, but now there is a new team in town and President Trump will be taking office soon. Tell us your impressions of where the U.S.-Israel relationship will go now under President Trump.
Well, not to put too fine of a point on it, but there's only one direction left after the last 8 years, and that's that the relationship between Israel and the United States will definitely get better. When Trump was running, I mean, there were multiple occasions when he really was very clear about what he thought about a lot of issues that under President Obama have been, in my view, severely mishandled, whether it was the status of Jerusalem or blaming the impasse in the Middle East on Israeli settlements or building homes for Jews in Jerusalem. Outrageous, you know. So President Obama has been the most hostile president to Israel, in my view, since Jimmy Carter. And I think the difference between what we've just lived through, what Israel and the Israeli people have had to experience, and what I think will happen under President Trump is really extraordinarily more positive under the new team.
Gary, do you think the Trump administration will take a tougher line towards Iran and towards ISIS and towards that jihadist threat?
I think Donald Trump is a unique president. Unique president-elect. He fought virtually the entire American political establishment, even the establishment of his own party. So this is a man that knows how to take a punch and give a punch. And of course, if you're going to stand steadfast with Israel against the foreign policy establishment, against the United Nations, against the political left, against the professors on the university campuses, you're going to have to take punches and you're going to have to be willing to give punches. And I think he'll do that. And I think one of the first things to look for is how he treats this very ill-advised, ill-conceived deal that the Obama administration made with Iran that has been great for Iran, but has been terrible for Israel, for the United States, for our allies, and quite frankly, for those Arab allies that we have in the Middle East.
Another guy who's a very important cog, obviously, of the incoming Trump administration is Vice President-elect Mike Pence. Now, he's a guy you've worked closely with. Tell us, he's a staunch supporter of Israel, we know that, and a Bible-believing Christian. Tell us a little bit more about Vice President-elect Mike Pence and the role he could play when it comes to Israel and security issues.
I believe from what I've seen so far that Vice President-elect Mike Pence will be perhaps the most powerful vice president in modern American history. Donald Trump has relied on him repeatedly for many really key assignments. Of course, he's been brought in to make this transition work smoothly. The two men get along very well together. I understand there's even been a lot of conversation between the two of them about spiritual matters, which will make, I think, a lot of Christians around the country feel good. I saw a wonderful photo, by the way, of Donald Trump and Mike Pence praying together with Mrs. Pence early in the campaign on one of the campaign trips they were taking together. But I do know Mike Pence well, and he is pro-Israel, and that comes from two different strains of thought. One is his faith. He's a Christian Zionist. He believes there's a biblical mandate that calls for us as Christians to support the Israeli people and the Jewish people. But in addition to that, he has sort of a Ronald Reagan view of the world, that free societies, free nations are always in danger or are always under threat, that there's always the worry of the rising seas of totalitarianism. We've seen that in the Middle East. And so both this realpolitik sort of approach to foreign policy makes Mike Pence understand that Israel and the United States need to stand together. We're the two pillars of Judeo-Christian civilization. And then also that faith base, I think, really strengthens that pro-Israel view that he has.
Talk about what kind of impact CUFI and the Action Fund can potentially have under the Trump administration, and the good things that you're already doing but can go to another level perhaps under this administration.
In this case, with the president-elect and vice president-elect and the people we see them bringing in, their mindset is already pro-Israel. And so we find ourselves in a position of not trying to turn the ship of state completely around, but just providing additional information about why one approach or another might be better, or giving them information they may need to counter some of the pushback they're going to get and some of the criticism they will get. One of the things I've already noticed since the election is that people around the country that are pro-Israel and who previously were sort of despairing about what they could accomplish, all of a sudden they're on fire and they want to do everything they can. So we're going to have, I think, a very strong, powerful grassroots presence right up there with some of the more noteworthy American groups that lobby here in Washington, D.C. And I think when all is said and done, that CUFI and the CUFI Action Fund really have an historic opportunity here to help save Western civilization.
Thanks, my friend. Keep up the great work here on Capitol Hill.
You're welcome. Thank you, Eric.
Coming up, we visit with an Israeli ambassador to hear his take on why the support of Christians is so important for Israel. It's the Watchman, it's CUFI, only right here on TBN. Don't move. The Bible is clear. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob made an everlasting covenant with the land and the people of Israel. They are the apple of his eye. But Israel faces enemies on all sides who want to annihilate every Jewish man, woman, and child.
God gave us a voice and a responsibility, a biblical mandate to bless Israel and to speak up for Zion's sake. Find out how when you order my free book, Why Christians Should Support Israel.
You'll learn why Israel has a biblical and historic claim to the land, why Christians owe the Jewish people a spiritual debt, what the Bible says about those who bless and curse the Jewish people. There's no time to lose. Call Christians United for Israel at the number on your screen or go to cufi.org/book and we'll send you your free book from Pastor John Hagee. If you won't speak up for Israel, who will? And welcome back to The Watchman, only right here on TBN. Ambassador Eitan Levanon has a very important role as Consul General of Israel to the Southwest United States. Now, that is a large geographical area that includes the state of Texas. That's where I caught up with Ambassador Levanon recently at the 35th Annual Cornerstone Church Night to Honor Israel in San Antonio, where he joined Pastor John Hagee, Ambassador John Bolton, and others in reaffirming the strong relationship between Israel and the United States. Take a look. Give us an idea, you're a diplomat. When something like UNESCO, this horrific resolution comes down, how do you jump into action and fight back against it?
Well, here in the Southwest, we cover 6 states, Texas and 5 other states. We just measured in a way that we are talking about Italy, France, and Germany combined. This is the area that we cover here, and we have here so many friends in this region that it helps us a lot to show our case, to explain our situation in the Middle East, which is very complicated, but with our friends and allies, we can do it here in the Southwest very, very nicely.
Yeah, now you're based in Houston, Texas.
Right.
I want to talk more about those friends of Israel, particularly Christian friends of Israel here in the U.S., the important role they play in a second. But you talked about kind of the diplomatic half of the struggle that Israel's facing at the UN and beyond. I want to talk right now about the more military terror struggle that Israel's locked in against shared enemies, Israel and America, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS, etc.
Our region, our neighborhood is a very tough neighborhood in which Israel lives and thrives and develops. And we try also to develop the Middle East in general, but it's very difficult when you have such components like what you have in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, in Egypt, in the Sinai Peninsula. You've got so many destructive elements, and they are all around us, but we know exactly how to handle it. The question of Syria is very, very awkward and very complicated because, and we say also that it's like some kind of a psychedelic picture there because nobody knows who is against whom. But what you can see is that, and this is something we said before, we have a lot of Iranian influence in the region, which is a bad influence. It's also in Yemen, in Libya, in Syria for sure. And they are sponsoring terror with their proxies like the Hezbollah, like the Houthis in Yemen. So you see now that Iran tries to get some kind of advantage from this chaos which is in Syria. You have also the ISIS factor, but ISIS is now in a little bit of a defense mode, so we don't know exactly how it's gonna be, but we follow it and monitor it from Israel.
Talk a bit more about how Iran remains a major threat, not just to Israel, but to the world at large.
A lot of people in the West are really hoping, and they were hoping that some deals with Iran will be able to make the ones who are more moderate stronger. So they were hoping for a stronger moderate factor in Iran. But what we see is that the only ones to gain from any agreement are the elements which are very extreme, like the regime itself today. They got strong, and there is no really, you don't really see any ease of their brutal regime over the area. They sponsor terrorism all around the Middle East. They have a lot of plans. They are building missiles which will cover not only Israel, but they are going to cover Europe, and they are thinking for the future to cover also the United States in a way that the United States will not be able to fight them in a way that they can do it before.
Those ICBMs.
Of course, the ICBMs.
Actively working on, of course.
Exactly. And that's, they have a mission. They know exactly what they want to do. They want to continue to be a very negative factor in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And we have to find our allies. And also in the region, we have also allies. Some of them don't say it out loud, but we know that they are worried like we are, because some of those guys really want the Middle East to be prosperous and not like it is today.
Well, Ambassador, we're here at the 35th Annual Night to Honor Israel at Cornerstone Church in San Antonio. Talk a bit about how that Christian support for Israel means so much to Israel and the Jewish people.
It means for us so much, and we value it, we appreciate it. It's vital for our national security. It's part of our national security. Not only tanks will keep us safe, but also the support of the Christians here. And as one who was in Europe for a long time, when I came here to the Southwest, I was amazed to see so much friendship and flags of Israel outside places. It was so great to see the support. It's so important for us, this support of the Christian community here, and we appreciate it tremendously.
Coming up, the Watchman hits the set of TBN's Praise Show with Matt and Laurie Crouch to talk about the biblical mandate for Christians to stand with Israel and the Jewish people. That's coming up after the break. Stick around. Israel's enemies are united in their goal to destroy the Jewish state. They all share one purpose: to wipe Israel off the map. Evil forces never stop working to isolate, delegitimize, and weaken Israel. In the face of evil, Christians must not remain silent. Supporting Israel is not a political issue, it is a biblical issue. And you can make a difference in your church, on college campuses, and on Capitol Hill.
In 10 years, you've gathered more than 3 million members and are active on more than 300 college campuses. Kufi never shies away from standing with Israel, from standing with the truth.
Become part of the largest pro-Israel organization in America and help Christians united for Israel push back against the darkness as a beacon of truth. Join over 3 million defenders of Israel when you visit our website at cufi.org and sign the Israel Pledge. Together, we'll make sure that Israel never stands alone. And welcome back to The Watchman. Well, our team at Christians United for Israel is very proud of our partnership with TBN on The Watchman Show. I like to say that combining America's largest pro-Israel organization, CUFI, with the world's largest Christian television network, TBN, is a match made in heaven. So it's no surprise that my good friends, Matt and Laurie Crouch, who are great supporters of Israel, made me feel right at home recently on the set of Praise. We covered a wide range of issues, and I even had a chance to share some personal details about how in the world I got here. Take a look.
Why is it that you do what you do? Let's start with you, and we're going to get to the Watchman. We're going to get to Yom Kippur. Tonight we're going to be talking about it. But why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I feel like, guys, that God put me on this earth to do exactly what I'm doing right now.
What is that?
Well, sounding the alarm, being a watchman on the wall, as the show title says, the watchman. You know, I think of the book of Ezekiel. God says, if the watchman does not sound the alarm, he or she will be held accountable. I feel like I've got this knowledge, this wisdom about what's going on in the world and how it affects everyone sitting at home. So I need to share this. It's on my heart. It's a passion of mine, not only for Israel, but for America. Can we turn things around? We have all these threats gathering at our doorstep. You know, guys, 9/11 really was the game changer for me. At the time, I just moved back from New York City, had been living there for several months working, moved back, trying to figure out my next move. 9/11 happened. And like a lot of people, it had a profound impact on my life. But just as a concerned American, the day after 9/11, I went out and bought everything I could get my hands on about Islam, about Al-Qaeda, about the Middle East. Now, interesting point here. I had a real background interest and knowledge from my father. I grew up amazing household, unlikely household really to do what I'm doing, in a working class neighborhood in Northeast Philadelphia. But my father knew the Bible.
Wow.
He was a fascinating guy. He worked in a factory with his hands, but he had such an intellectual curiosity. He was so well read, and he was a prophecy buff. And he gave me Hal Lindsey's book, our old friend Hal Lindsey, we've talked about before, Matt.
Love it.
The Late Great Planet Earth. I was a 21-year-old guy living in the world, and that book changed the direction of my life. But the dinner table conversations with my dad, very uncharacteristic, I guess, in the area we grew up, talking about Israel, King David, the Entebbe raid, the Netanyahu family, talking about Stalingrad, World War II. Amazing, and I soaked it all up. So God gave me that earthly father for a reason and set me on the path I'm on today.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And now the Watchman is a result of Christians United for Israel and TBN partnering together to put you in the field, you in front of cameras, to sound that alarm. That's what you do.
Matt, it's so amazing when we agreed to bring the Watchman exclusively, only right here on TBN, folks, you'll see the show. We called it a match made in heaven because you have TBN, the largest, most influential Christian television network in the world, and CUFI, Christians United for Israel, founded by our good friend, Pastor John Hagee, is the largest pro-Israel organization in America. 3.2 million members and growing every day. Guys, this is a move of God for such a time as this. You know, as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, I want to be where God is. Where is God moving today? Where does he have his hand? And today he has his hand on the land of Israel. That's where it's all going down. And it's exciting to be there with a bird's eye view using TBN's amazing Jerusalem studio, majestic view, folks. And to have that front row seat, I'm blessed. And I say, God has a sense of humor to pluck a guy like me out of nowhere, out of Northeast Philadelphia, and put me in Jerusalem. I still can't get over it. I pinch myself every day. God's hand is in this in a mighty way. And having that front row seat, working on the Watchman for TBN, for CUFI, in Jerusalem, where Jesus will lay his foot once again, it's an amazing thing.
Give it up for Stacks. Come on now. I love it.
Thanks again to Matt and Laurie for all they do to make this show possible. Well, coming up after the break, my final thoughts on a revival in America. Could it happen? And is Israel the key? It's the Watchman, it's Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN. The Bible is clear. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob made an everlasting covenant with the land and the people of Israel. They are the apple of his eye. But Israel faces enemies on all sides who want to annihilate every Jewish man, woman, and child.
God gave us a voice and a responsibility, a biblical mandate to bless Israel and to speak up for Zion's sake. Find out how when you order my free book, Why Christians Should Support Israel.
You'll learn why Israel has a biblical and historic claim to the land, why Christians owe the Jewish people a spiritual debt, what the Bible says about those who bless and curse the Jewish people. There's no time to lose. Call Christians United for Israel at the number on your screen or go to cufi.org/book and we'll send you your free book from Pastor John Hagee. If you won't speak up for Israel, who will? Welcome back. You know, I've said here on the show that we're living in Bible times. Today, all too often, good is called evil and evil is considered good. Just look at how Israel is condemned by the United Nations while Iran receives billions of dollars in sanctions relief from Western powers, including the United States. It's no wonder that in the run-up to the 2016 election, so many Christians were looking to this passage from 2 Chronicles. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now, Christians turned out in large numbers to elect Donald Trump, and my hope is that in the coming years we can have the kind of revival in America that 2 Chronicles talks about. A crucial part of that will be blessing God's people and God's land, the land of Israel. Our team at Christians United for Israel will be working hard during a Trump administration, just as we have under previous administrations in Washington, D.C., and in churches and communities across the country to make sure that America never again distances itself from its friend and ally Israel. You see the information there on your screen, so join us. Join America's largest pro-Israel organization and help us make the relationship between America and Israel stronger than ever. Well, thanks for joining us this week on The Watchman. Remember to pray for the United States and to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.